Yo, what's going on, guys? So today in this video, I'm gonna be talking about Roman Reigns and him pretty much still being a heel. I've talked about this in some other videos, but I'm gonna go into like more detail in this video, and pretty much I'm just gonna just explain just more stuff about the topic as you can see in the title. And I've been kind of bothered at my own self because I've been like every for the past like month now. I just been like not posting as consistent. I was like, you know, I keep uploading like these WWE videos, like maybe like one, two, three a week. And it's usually like maybe two one day, and then one, you know, some other random day of the week, or maybe one, like this day, and then um two like different days throughout the week, and I'm just like, I'm just not uploading as much WWE videos, and so I'm just like kind of like upset at myself for that recently. Even though at times I have been busy, but there's also other times where I've just felt like not doing any videos, so that's my fault. But either way, I'm gonna try to like upload two times today. Because after I'm done with this video, I'm gonna upload another video. Then I'm gonna pretty much just maybe I'm gonna upload another one tomorrow, and at least try to upload another one by Friday. Like I'm gonna try to at least post 4 or 5 times a week. I'm trying to post more often. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe to the channel. So pretty much Roman Reigns, I want to talk about him being still a heel, because there's this misconception. There's been this, I don't know why, but for over a year now, people have just been saying like, oh, Roman is a face now. He's a baby face. He's a good guy now. And I've talked about in some of my other videos briefly about how he's not a face. He's literally, he's still a bad guy because he never apologized to his bloodline. Like, he never apologized to the Usos, and he never apologized to Sammy. He never apologized to anybody for how he treated them. And also you can tell he still has like an ego, and it's all about himself still. Only cares about himself. And he just like he's still saying, selfish, self-absorbed or whatever. um and just overall just like has that like, you know has that like, that like, I don't know, like that serious, like more like heelish tone in his voice, that like he still has all that, you know that like that he still has all that heel energy within him. So it's like people saying he's a face now, it's just not true. And I talked about that already before. And and I have more proof now, because look, literally just this Monday Night Raw, he was like, I mean, he's been doing this for like, over like a little bit over a month now. He's been like manipulating Jey Uso and trying to like make him be just like him. um and like, trying to like, get in his head and whatnot. And this Monday Night Raw, he was like, kind of like talking down on Jimmy. He was like, what? Why are you not letting? What's the problem with me giving Jay advice? Like, what's your problem? You once he won the war, once won the championship this year, he became less like you and more like me. Kind of like talking down on Jimmy for never winning any like any singles title for himself, right? And kind of just like, shit talking Jimmy for, not, liking Roman and giving Jay advice. And so he was just talking like a heel the whole time towards Jimmy, and just like still manipulating Jay Uso to be just like him. um that it's just like, come on, bro. Like, what, what more evidence do you need that he's still a heel? He's still a heel, and this proves it. This Monday Night Raw, it proves it. And the way he's been, like I said, just getting in Jay's head for over a month now just proves it. And he's literally said himself recently. He said this twice actually. He said this last year. Um, after he had returned at SummerSlam, like not long after, he had said that, I don't remember when it was, but it was pretty much, I think it was like early September of 2024. He pretty much made a promo where he was like, I don't need anybody. I don't need Cody Rhodes to help me to be successful. I don't need anybody. Um, and I'm something's changed, but not me. He said that last year, and he said it again recently, like literally 3 weeks ago. Um, he was like, oh, like off air on Monday Night Raw. He literally said it again. He was like, he was like, something's changed, but not me. So again, he said this twice, that something's changed, but not me. So meaning he's still the same bad guy he's been for years. He's still the same, and it's just like, so he pretty much hasn't changed at all, and he's still the same person. Like, I think I think the misconception that he's a face comes from the fact that, he was getting, because he started getting massively heavily cheered ever since he returned from last year's SummerSlam. Yeah, I remember that. And so he started getting cheered more, so people started seeing him more as a face, and because he was fighting Solo's bloodline, which are heels. But nah, man, he's still the same person. Like, I mean, we've seen heels fight other heels, and also, getting cheered doesn't make you a face either. So it's like, again, he's still the same person. Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Rollins, they were all right about Roman Reigns. He never changed. He never apologized to anybody. He's still the same egotistical, power hungry, controlling, manipulative person. He never changed. You know, so like, for all this time though, like, people are just like, in WWE at least, like, obviously, like, fans were saying it too, but like in storyline, all these characters like Sammy and and like, Jimmy and Jay, they were like, oh, Roman, he's a good person now, and y'all are just living in the past and over exaggerating and blah blah blah. um y'all are being like crybabies, y'all get, but look, we got more proof now that he hasn't changed. He's pretty much um manipulating Jay just to be just like him. And here's the thing: some people are justifying this by saying, "Oh well, he's just like telling Jay, to look out more for himself and not worry about other people, just worrying about just worry about your own success." And like, yes, that is good advice, but it's a good advice coming from the wrong person for the wrong reasons. You get what I mean? Like, Roman is saying it, Roman's a heel, and he's saying it out of selfishness and like just being a piece of crap. Not because, he's just like, oh yeah, just focus on your own success. He's not saying it in that kind of way. He's just simply, saying it just in a rude way, like being selfish, being like kind of like being a jerk about it. So he's giving the right advice to Jay, but for the wrong reasons. So that's what I'm trying to get at here. That's what some people, you know and some people also have said, oh, but Roman, he's not forcing Jay to do anything. He said it himself, that he you know Jay can do him whatever. He doesn't have to follow his his advice, his being Roman's advice. People were saying that Roman is not forcing Jay to follow Roman's advice. Roman is just giving him advice, and Roman said it himself that he's that Jay can do whatever he wants to do or whatever. So people are saying that that Roman's not being manipulative and not being a heel, but because of because of that. But here's the thing, Roman, um, like yes, he's not forcing Jay to do anything, but he's just like, but he's being manipulative about it either way, because he's giving him yes the right advice, but for the wrong reasons. You know, it's not like like it's not like if LA Knight told Jay like you should focus on yourself, like don't help other people, just focus on your own success. Like it's not the same if a face like LA Knight tells Jay that kind of advice, but for it to come from Roman Reigns, who's a heel, yes, it is, the right advice coming from the wrong person at that point, because Roman Reigns is saying it from a selfish, egotistical point of view. You get what I mean? So it's not the same. So therefore, yeah, you can try to say Roman's not being manipulative because he's not forcing Jay to follow his advice, but he's still giving him the wrong. He's still giving him the right advice for the wrong reasons. So that doesn't change anything. And like literally last year, Roman he was talking down on Jey Uso and Sammy before they had reunited as the Bloodline, OG Bloodline. So before they reunited as the OG Bloodline, Roman was talking down on Sammy and Jay, saying that Sammy, you betrayed me, and like trying to make it seem like Sammy was still in the wrong for betraying him after he physically and verbally abused Sammy for all this time, and he was still treating Sammy like he was the bad guy for betraying him. And then Roman was also talking down on Jay for wanting for Sammy to be in the Bloodline again. And so and then obviously Roman never apologized. He was like, "Oh, you're wasting my time, Sammy, by trying to get me to apologize to Jay." And so again, Roman never had any remorse. He never apologized. He never changed. He doesn't care about anyone but himself. He's still a heel. And so that's pretty much is my point, is that Roman is still heel. And I don't have a problem. Like, I'm not saying that, like, I'm not one of those, like, because some people might, they might watch this video and be like, "Oh, you're taking this too seriously." If he's a heel, who cares? Like, why are you taking this personally? Like if this is real, that's not, bro. I'm not taking this personally. I'm just speaking from storyline perspective that he's still a heel. And so, yeah, I'm not like taking this personally as if this is real. I'm still gonna like Roman Reigns whether he's a heel, or a face. As long as his character is good, I'm still gonna like him. I don't think his character is good currently, but do I like Roman Reigns overall? Yeah, I do, and especially during his time as as tribal chief with the championship, I definitely liked him even more. And so, yeah, I definitely like Roman Reigns either way. But I'm just saying, like, he is a heel, like he definitely is. And he hasn't changed. He hasn't. So people who keep saying he's a face, he's not a face. And people say he's a tweener. I don't see it. I don't really understand how he's a tweener. Like, to be a tweener, you have to have some kind of like good things about you that we could point out that can be like, okay, he has a good guy side to him. But no, he doesn't have anything good about him. Some people might point out that he loves the fans now. I mean, here's the thing. A lot of Triple H's like heels these days that he writes as being the villains. This guy doesn't really know how to write heels or faces, so the heels like embracing the fans and like loving the fans doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't, because Triple H doesn't know how to write faces or heels. So Roman Reigns being a heel, loving the fans, and like that doesn't mean anything to me. Honestly, it doesn't mean he's a tweener at all. like, um, I mean, like literally, The Rock was like embracing the fans too, as literally when he was a heel last year in 2024. Like he was doing the same thing. Like literally, um, like literally all these all these people that are supposed to be heels, like like Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, like they're supposed to be heels, but yet they love the fans. They're like, you know, they're embracing the fans. Um, so yeah, it just that doesn't really mean anything to me. Just because Roman, he shows love to the crowd. That doesn't mean anything to me. Um, and some people might say, oh, but he's not like physically abusive towards his OG bloodline anymore. Okay, but I mean, he was still like verbally, abusing them before they even reunited as the OG bloodline. Like I said, he literally was talking down on Jay and Sammy before they even reunited as the OG bloodline together again. And then um this all and then also every time that freaking Sammy or Jay or Jimmy were in trouble, where the hell was Roman Reigns? He never came out to help them. Recently, he's been helping them, but before that, he wasn't doing shit. He didn't help them out, and he also, like I said, he also never apologized to them. And then recently, he was talking on this Monday Night Raw. Um, he was literally talking down on Jimmy for not liking Roman Reigns' advice to Jay, and was literally like saying like, oh, stay out of the way. Um, you don't know what you're talking about. Um, and also telling Jimmy like, oh, you never been champion. Jay became more like me when he was champion and less like you. Like he was literally talking down on Jimmy. So he's still like being verbally abusive towards his OG bloodline, and and he was doing this last year before they even reunited. And again, he never apologized to anybody. So he hasn't changed, bro. He hasn't changed. He's still the same person. And so like I just feel like Rome. I mean, pretty much everyone that talked about the Roman being a heel still, like like um like Kevin Owens, uh, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and then recently CM Punk and LA Knight. Um, yeah, they're all right. Roman's a heel, and he's just he hasn't changed. But the thing is, people were trying. I remember, this is the last thing I'm gonna say. I remember last year though, whenever Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and Kevin were constantly talking about Roman Reigns and talking bad about him. I remember, like people kept saying like, oh, Seth Rollins is a hypocrite because he's the one that betrayed Roman to begin with, and he turned him into that monster that Roman became. So this is all Seth's fault, and now he's like trying to act like he's any better when he's the one that betrayed Roman to begin with and caused him to become that way. Um, and people are also saying the same thing about uh, Kevin Owens. People are saying like, oh, Kevin has betrayed people so many times at this point. Like he has no room to talk or whatever, blah blah blah. But you notice how none of these people were saying this. Um, like you notice how like most of these people weren't even saying this. Whenever Seth, was still considered a face, which I've said this before. Like Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins, they're all pretty much a tweener, even though they're supposed to be portrayed as a heel, but they're really a tweener. Um, but before Seth and Kevin had even turned heel, people weren't talking about like, oh, like Seth, you betrayed Roman. You have no right to hate him. Um, and people weren't saying that to Kevin either. Like, oh, Kevin, you betrayed people. You have no right to hate Roman. People weren't saying any of this. Um, like before Roman had returned at SummerSlam last year, like in 2024. Like before Roman had returned at 2024 SummerSlam. Um, like all these years, pretty much, Seth and Roman had hated. I mean, Seth and Kevin had hated Roman Reigns, and no one talked about their betrayal toward, Seth's betrayal towards Roman. Um, at least most of these people weren't talking about it, and most people weren't talking about Kevin betraying people in the past either. But all of a sudden, Roman Reigns returns at 2024 SummerSlam, and Seth and Kevin start hating on Roman's again, and all of a sudden now all these people are just bringing up Seth's betrayal towards Roman, and people are bringing up Kevin's betrayal towards people in the past, and like, yeah, like all the fans, they were starting to do these things, but they weren't saying it before all these years that Seth and Kevin were hating on Roman. They weren't saying that before, with all these years that went by. They were only saying it once Roman returned after 2024 SummerSlam, and Seth and Kevin Owens started hating Roman again. And then that's when these fans started saying like, oh, Kevin and Seth, you have no room to talk because Seth, you betrayed Roman, and Kevin, you betrayed people in the past. Like they weren't saying that before like years ago whenever Seth and Kevin were hating on Roman Reigns. So it seems to me it's just like bias. Like people all of a sudden developed this bias once Roman Reigns returned to 2024 SummerSlam. Like everyone was excited to see him. So once these wrestlers in storyline were criticizing Roman, people were just bothered by it, so they started being biased. Like, I don't know, that's really what it is. And also because I think some people also genuinely saw Roman as a face, so that's also probably it as well. Um, for at least half the people, the other half of the people. But either way, it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just I don't get it though. It's like either way, like Roman hasn't changed, and like y'all want to bring up Seth's betrayal towards Roman, even though Seth has over the years, um, and like here's the thing, I'm pretty sure Seth did apologize to Roman and Dean Ambrose about it, and they also reunited. Yeah, I gotta remember they reunited like like years ago before Dean Ambrose left WWE. They had already reunited and made up and like became cool again. And Seth has shown remorse. He showed remorse during that time and was sorry about it, and like was apologetic about it, and yeah, he apologized. Then and was sympathetic towards the situation. So then the Shield reunited, and then over the years that went by, he Steph was still sympathetic about the bad decisions he had made about betraying the Shield, and he talked about how he pretty how he over the years, whenever he was a face, um he was pretty much just talking about it constantly, that he was sorry for betraying the Shield, and he showed remorse for all these years as a face. And literally in 2024, before WrestleMania, he literally told Cody Rhodes in a promo that I'm partly responsible for who Roman Reigns became, for the monster he became. And then whenever the Sammy promo in December of 2024, when Sammy brought up like, oh, you turned Roman into that monster and you betrayed him with the chair, and Seth literally admitted it, like, yeah, I am responsible. And he again he showed sympathy. He was like he owned up to it. He apologized for it. So Seth obviously has shown change throughout the years as a character and has shown remorse for it. Roman, he's still the same person and hasn't apologized to anyone for what, or even just shown remorse for all the bad things he's done. So it's not the same. And same thing with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens betrayed people in the past, yeah, and he did all these bad things, but he's apologized and shown sympathy throughout the years for the all the bad things he's done and all the betrayals he's done. Um, he's apologized and shown sympathy for that, like throughout the years, and has changed. But Roman again hasn't done any of these things, so it's not the same with Kevin Owens either. So therefore, the whole argument, was like, oh, Seth and Kevin can't talk because they betrayed people in the past. It just doesn't work. Um, and not just that, but like, um, people saying that Seth is the reason, that Roman Reigns became a heel. That also doesn't really make sense, only because you know that also doesn't make sense because when you look at like Roman Reigns' character from 2020, he was pretty much he became a heel, because he wanted the power, he wanted the championships, he wanted all that in WWE. That was his character, and pretty much that's why he became a heel. He didn't become a heel because of Seth. Roman literally became a heel years after his betrayal, after Seth's betrayal towards the Shield. So it doesn't even make sense. So Roman didn't become a heel um because of Seth at all. If anything, it's kind of the opposite. Like the reason Seth is a heel is a so-called heel, and Kevin and Drew are all so-called heels right now, is because of Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. So yeah.